Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we are back in Throne and Liberty to make a little comparison between two spears that are actually both great for the Gladiator build, and they are also quite easy to get, and if you cannot get them, they're also very inexpensive. And those two spears are going to be the Velentra Skewer and the new Punishing Polearm, which is surprisingly good actually. They are both incredible spears. I do still think that this is slightly better because the passive is just so broken, but the Punishing Polearm is still insane because it does just grant you so many stats, and the actual passive is not too bad, giving you some more damage on your Cooling or Flaming Arc, which is an ability that is a little bit underrated in my opinion, and I do have a build that actually makes that weapon quite good. For the comparison, I am going to use the newly added combat meter, and that is, in my opinion, a great way to, of course, compare things, but things like the passive from Velentra Skewer will not apply to the dummy, and yeah, from my testings, even without the negative 600 defense on the target from the passive, we are still dealing more damage than the build with the Polearm. But yeah, that is just all dependent on heavy attacks and crits. I will have to spend like hours the testing and seeing how much damage I'm dealing. But yeah, like usually I've been seeing more damage on this build, but sometimes it can also happen the other way around, but the other way around happens less time, so usually Velentra is gonna be better. But one big advantage of using this spear is that we don't have to use Bloodly Shora, which isn't exactly that great of an ability for bossing since it does not deal that much damage. And so yeah, they are both great in that sense, because you can, like, if you prefer having other skills other than Bloodly Shora, you can go for the Polearm of the Abyss. And that is why I think they are both great, because if you don't like using this, you can just go for the Polearm and your build will still be perfectly fine. Okay, that's enough yapping. Let's move on to actual dealing damage to the dummy. Once again, using this will do nothing to our damage. We can just try that right now. Like, I'm dealing about 1400. Now I'm dealing 1400. It just does nothing. Very sad, but that is what we're dealing with. So even if I don't use that, it won't change my damage at all. Anyways, let's go against a fresh dummy and let's see with a full rotation how much damage we are dealing. And don't worry about my foot buffs, I only have this one, which isn't really that big of a deal, and the more attack speed works for both builds. Okay, so I'm gonna explain the rotation maybe later or in a comment. Yeah, this is how much damage we're seeing. Once again, it's about 1 million. In the first rotation, it will of course become way less in the second one, and so on and so forth, and it does take like around a minute to kill the mannequin or dummy. So that is build 1, and these are the skills that I am using. These are the skill specializations. I'm not gonna go through everything, you can just copy and like read in game what everything does. And I finally managed to actually get level 200 on my masteries, so this is what I'm using. And it will be the same for both builds. And I am sure there can be some like min-maxing done in here and whatever, but I do not care about any of these, for example, in the Greatsword Masteries. And here I also have like this for more range, because why not? It's not needed. You could also just put all the points into more mana regen. Completely up to you. And these are the mastery skills I went for. Just Destruction Spear for more damage whenever we attack 7 times. This one for more DOT damage, which is nice to have. This actually gives you a lot more damage as long as you have mana, and that's why I'm building a lot of mana regen on this build. And then we have Potential, which just grants 1 point in all the stats, which is it's just a great thing to use. I will eventually maybe change either Deadly Viper or Destruction Spear for this one, just to try it out, because we gain 25% buff duration, and that's a lot. I just want to see how that will fill in with like my other skills, but for now this is what I have, and it is pretty cool. I will also be using the same artifacts, so nothing will change in that sense either. And I mean, it makes sense because we are just dealing damage with spears and greatsword, so we don't really need to change anything up here. And I'm going to use the same exact gear, so this is what I have on my hairy greatsword. This is everything else I have on my armor, just full max rate everything pretty much. And my accessories are going to be this, which I want to change for something else, but this one is just really good for the mana efficiency, so maybe I'll change it later on. And then yeah, everything else just mostly maxed out. I of course do not have the trait that is very expensive for my heroic gear, and the same goes for the spears. They have pretty much max traits as well. They're going to use of course the same runes because of the new rune system. The only difference is that this one has buff duration instead of attack speed, because the build will change a little bit. So when we actually now use the Polearm of the Abyss, this is the build we are looking at. Our stats are going to be a little bit different. We still want that 50 fortitude for the passive in the mastery tree. And now moving to the skills, this is where things have to change a little bit. First of all, we want to use Da Vinci instead of our Blood Lichura, and that's why I do not have any attack speed trait on my spear, because we are just gonna make use of Da Vinci. And I am also dropping Gale Rush, which you could also not do this, it's completely up to you, but I like using Violent Brawl more because it just gives me more consistent damage, because by using this and the 3 Culling Arcs, I can sustain my damage way more than just having to wait for everything to go off cooldown. So this is what I'm using. You can just, once again, just use Gale Rush if you don't like this idea. And for the skill specializations, I am of course dropping the upgrades on Gale Rush, since we are not using that. I am instead giving the Culling Arc more damage per burst. And I am also dropping the additional attack speed from our Frost Cleaving, because once again, we have Da Vinci for the whole duration, which is like above 27 seconds with this up. So we don't really need any more attack speed, because we have just a very consistent 15% from Da Vinci. And that's going to be the changes to the build. Everything else going to be exactly the same, other than you have to, of course, change your stats a little bit over here. Now moving to the actual damage showcase, I've done some tests. Of course, this was a bad one, but the damage is not going to be that much higher either. So yeah, rotation is going to be really similar as well, because we are going to use Da Vinci instead of Blood Lichura. And yeah, everything else pretty much the same. If you have ever played with a Gladiator build, you know what the combos are, but if you haven't, the big one is you use Culling Arc to apply the burst stacks, and then you use your Brutal Fury 3 times because of the specialization we have, and we also then use Stunning Blow followed by Guillotine Blade, and that followed by Death Blow, because this will increase the damage of Guillotine Blade, and then Death Blow will reduce the cooldown of a Guillotine Blade. So that is the cool thing. And yeah, everything else we just use whenever we can. So let's get started. We also have now 3 stacks of Culling Arc, which is pretty cool. And then we have our Violent Brawl. I was yapping weirdly, but yeah, thanks to Violent Brawl, we can easily deal more damage to me, because we are dealing like a lot of damage with this deals like 80,000 damage every time we use it, and the cooldown is almost non-existent, and that's what I like about this build, because on the other one we kinda need all the attack speed buffs, so we cannot really fit in Violent Brawl almost anywhere. You could like drop, I guess, Frost Cleaving, but in that case I don't know how much better it will be. And yeah, this build will pretty much, as we saw, deal the same damage, so the dummy will die in about 60 seconds too. But yeah, we are not seeing the full picture because we are not reducing the dummy's defense in any of the builds, so it is not exactly a great way to compare. I wish we could actually do that on the dummies to see how much damage we're actually dealing, but we cannot. So yeah, for now, just take this comparison with a grain of salt and just take it for what it is. Damage is not everything, and you might have better experience with one or the other, depending on how you play the game. So yeah, just my way of comparing two things. I also do not really recommend this class unless you like aggroing all the enemies inside an area like any co-op dungeons, because for bossing this is not the class to go for. That's always gonna be a range one, and we all know that. But yeah, if you just enjoy melee weapons and the melee combat in this game, which is pretty fun, this is definitely a great class. And once again, you can aggro all the enemies in like cranes manner and just take them down by yourself, which is it's just really satisfying, and I have a lot of fun with that. So yeah, that's pretty much my updated boss build for the Gladiator. I will also have the updated build for my AoE setup for this class in another video, because that also has something new, which is going to be the new Grey Sword you get from the Star something event. But yeah, that will come hopefully next week. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like, and if you like my content, consider subscribing. I wish you a beautiful rest of the day. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.